Yes, we're going to have Royce Cunningham, our Director of Utilities, and our Water Conservation Coordinator, Ramiro Jimenez. He's going to talk about what's happening with the recent declaration of a drought in the state of California, what it means to the city of Vacaville, and how we're doing and how we're moving forward. So I'll turn it over to Ramiro and Royce.
Thank you, City Manager Kuhn. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Here to talk a little bit about the governor's drought declaration and where we are with our water supply. On January 17, 2014, Governor Brown declared a drought state of emergency throughout California. His declaration follows 3 years of extremely low rainfall and the single driest calendar year in California's recorded history. Governor Brown was quoted as saying, "We can't make it rain, but we can be much better prepared for the terrible consequences that California's drought now threatens, including dramatically less water for our farms and communities." Everybody turn the page, just go ahead. Some key points to the governor's state of emergency proclamation is that a statewide water conservation campaign will be implemented, encouraging a 20% reduction in water use by all Californians. Local urban water suppliers are encouraged to implement local water shortage contingency plans. The State Water Board will put water right holders on notice that they may be directed to cease or reduce water diversions. The Department of Water Resources will take necessary actions to protect water supply and water quality in the Sacramento Delta. The state has reduced 2014 water supply allocations from the State Water Project. That's the water that comes from the Delta that Vacaville gets through our North Bay Aqueduct. They've been reduced to 5% of annual allotments. This reduces Vacaville's 2014 allocation from over 18,000 acre-feet to under 1,000 acre-feet. If there's little or no rain during February and March, it is possible that Vacaville's 2014 allocation may be reduced to zero from the State Water Project. What that means is one of our 3 water sources may dry up this year. It's very possible that the governor will reduce the State Water Project allotment down to zero. The reason for this is that so many communities and so many of the farmers in California rely on the snowmelt from the Sierra Nevadas that provides the water to the Sacramento Delta. It's moved down to Southern California, it's moved to the southern San Joaquin Valley, and it's also moved around Northern California. About 80% goes to farmers. 80% of the water use in California is for agriculture. About 20% is for municipal, industrial type use. I want to talk a little bit about Vacaville's water supply status. It sounds like gloom and doom with the people mentioning the word drought. But Vacaville is in a very solid situation in that we have 3 water supply sources, and they're shown here on this slide. Our State Water Project, the Delta source, is over 18,000 acre-feet per year. That's our allocation from the State Water Project. We have an allocation from the Solano Project, which is Lake Berryessa. That is 8,750 acre-feet. And we also have the ability to pump up to 8,000 acre-feet from our groundwater wells. We have 11 municipal groundwater wells in Vacaville. So that gives us a total available amount of water on a normal year of over 35,000 acre-feet. We typically use about 17,200 acre-feet per year. That's an average year for Vacaville. It's been a pretty solid average for the last 3 to 4 years. So in a typical water year, we use less than half, slightly less than half of our allocation. In the terms of the water that we get from Lake Berryessa, if we don't use any of the water for annual allocation, that we get to carry that over. In other words, we store that water in Lake Berryessa and we can use it in future years. This is really good because in the years when the State Water Project is really plentiful, we focus on using as much of the State Water Project water that we can so that we can carry over or bank the Lake Berryessa water to store it for years just like what we're experiencing right now. Right now, Vacaville has over 18,000 acre-feet of carryover storage in Lake Berryessa. Lake Berryessa is presently at 68% of its capacity. That's approximately 1.1 million acre-feet of water. In terms of how Solano County uses water, countywide, all of the farms, all of the municipalities, we use about 200,000 acre-feet per year. So this 1.1 million acre-feet is about 5 years' worth of storage. Lake Berryessa has about 5 years' worth of storage in it. So it's considered to be in very good condition. Vacaville is a member of the Solano County Water Agency that consists of all of the cities in Solano County, the county itself, as well as the local irrigation districts, Solano Irrigation District, Main Prairie Irrigation District, and Reclamation District 2068. Through the Solano County Water Agency, all of the Solano County agencies work together in terms of managing the water source, primarily the State Water Project water and the Lake Berryessa water, so that when we find ourselves, when the state is in a dry condition, that Solano County, we work together to make sure that everybody can have their water needs met. So with that, in terms of where our status is, if Vacaville State Water Project allocation were reduced to zero, we would still have adequate water supply to meet our normal water demands in Vacaville for about 3 years, using our Solano Project source and using our groundwater wells. And even in doing this, you'll notice on this slide that we would only use about 5,000 acre-feet of groundwater, where our available supply is about 8,000. We could still keep our well water in reserve. So if this drought extends out even further so that Lake Berryessa starts to drop down and the Solano County Water Agency starts to look at, we need to manage the Lake Berryessa resource even closer, we have our well water that we can utilize. So because of that, the city is not planning on implementing any extreme mandatory water conservation measures at this time, things like water rationing. We are working closely with the Solano County Water Agency. We had a meeting today. If Lake Berryessa drops down below 800,000 acre-feet, average times, that's probably about another year and a half with no rain, then the Solano County Water Agency will be looking at implementing a plan that the Solano County Water Agency has of water conservation management. And that plan starts off with some relatively low 5 to 10% mandatory restrictions on water.
Royce?
Yes.
This is just a statement. I lived in Marin County when they had to put that water line over the Richmond-Santa Fe Bridge, and we were taking showers in Nevada with buckets at our feet, so we had a lot of potable water. That was bad enough. But in 1991, we were coming to the 7th year of a drought here. The conundrum that I have is, you look at Folsom, it's almost a sandlot, almost, not quite. But, once the water is used, once you distribute it, I know you guys are all doing the best you can for us too, but once the water is used, if there's no rain after that, then pretty soon there's no water for anybody. I don't care what you have the right to. I don't know if there's any way to defense against that, but I hate to see people waiting to put, Sterner, I don't want anybody to be without water or anything like that, but, I've been there and done that, and it's no fun whatsoever, I got to tell you. And I see a lot of places saying, well, we've got this and we've got that, but once it's used and it's not replenished, they said in 91 it would take 3 to 4 years to fill all the reservoirs around here. They all filled in that one winter. I don't know if you remember the winter in 91, but man, we had water from the gods. I just don't know that we can count on that happening every time if we get stuck in a 2 to 3, any kind of a prolonged period of no rain, because this has been just amazing to me. Going almost 50 days without a drop of water is, anyway, I just wanted to.
Well, you bring up an interesting point, and the year that the pipeline was taken across the San Rafael Bridge, that was 1977. Another very low period of water, 1991. It was 14 years later, and here we are in 2014, 13 years later. So these things are cyclical. You raised a good point that I'm telling you right now that our water supply is in pretty good shape for right now. If things don't work out so well, I'll probably be standing in front of you here a year from now telling you that we're getting to be in pretty tough shape. So because of that, that's actually an excellent segue into where we're going. Even though we're saying that the water supply is in pretty good shape, we are recommending that Vacaville residents, Vacaville businesses practice efficient water use, be wise with how you use your water. There are some things that we are going to do as a city, and there's things that we are recommending that our customers do as well. Just a point of reference is many of you may remember that SB X7-7 in 2009 was a state mandated Senate bill that said that citizens, we have to reduce our water use by 20% by the year 2020. Vacaville has actually already reduced our water consumption down to that level. We were there a couple of years ago. Now, it did bump up a little bit last March when we didn't get much rain and people used a lot of water. It's probably going to bump down a little bit now because people are going to start conserving water. We will be implementing some things. I've been talking with Steve Hartwig, our Public Works Director, and we're talking about modifying our hydrant flushing program. We flush our hydrants because it cleans out the dirt and the metals and materials that are in the pipes that cause bad taste and odors in our system. So yearly we have a flushing program. That water goes down the drain and into the creek. So we're going to modify our program. We're not going to flush as many hydrants this year. We're hoping to cut that down to about 50%. And we're also looking at right now a method where we may be able to capture that water so that it doesn't go down the drain. We can put it into some type of a tank or a truck and take it to our treatment plant and put it back into the system. So essentially we recycle it. So we flush the hydrants, we gain the benefit from that, but we don't lose the water. So that's something that we're hoping to do to be very wise with our water use. Also, we'll look at some reductions in the lawn watering schedules at our parks and our landscape areas. They may not be as lush as you've seen them in the past, the soccer fields, the baseball diamonds. We don't want to kill them, but we want to keep them alive, but we want to try to conserve water where we can. And we're going to be encouraging water-wise use in our city buildings, so things like when you wash your hands, don't run the water for quite as long and things like that. So there are some things that we're looking at in the city. We're also recommending that some citizens I'm going to go backwards here. Looks like you're going backwards. Okay, one more. There we go. There are some things that we'd like to recommend that our residents and businesses practice, such as install efficient water appliance, low-flow toilets, low-flow shower heads, things like that. Reduce your lawn watering schedule. So maybe you don't irrigate your lawn twice a week, maybe you do it once a week or something like that. Wash full loads of laundry and full loads in the dishwasher rather than small loads. Take shorter showers. Turn off the faucet while you're brushing your teeth. We've all heard that one. And use a broom to sweep the driveway or the sidewalk. Don't use a hose. That wastes a lot of water. So these are some of the things that we're recommending. There are some resources that are available. Let's just leave this up. There's some websites. I'll leave this slide up so that people, if they need to write it down, Solano County Water Agency has an excellent website with lots of tips on conserving water. There are programs that Solano County Water Agency has to convert lawn to xeriscape, and there's actually a rebate program that's associated with that. The State Water Resources Control Board also has an excellent website. It tracks more information on the governor's drought declaration, and it also provides tips on managing your water resources. Our own city website has some information on it. And lastly, I would recommend that if people have questions, to contact Ramiro Jimenez. He's sitting here to my right. our Water Conservation Coordinator. His email address is at ramiro.jimenez@cityofvacaville.com, and you can certainly go to the website, and I believe your phone number is there too. We would like to be a resource to anybody that has any questions. And we'll leave that one up, and any questions the council may have, I'd be glad to answer.
Curtis.
Yeah, I have a question about how solid our banking carryover agreement is with Berryessa, because it seems to me that if the water levels at Berryessa drop and the Bureau of Reclamation has water conveyance contracts to other cities, what's going to happen to our 18,000 reserve? It seems to me that they're going to want to deliver water conveyance to other cities. How solid is that agreement?
Well, Berryessa is the source of water for the Solano project. So other than Solano County cities, nobody else gets water out of Lake Berryessa. And the contract, the master contract with the Bureau of Reclamation is held by the Solano County Water Agency, of which Vacaville is a member agency. So we actually have control of our own destiny in terms of the Berryessa water supply. And there are agreements in place and there are plans in place. When the lake drops down to a certain level, like I mentioned earlier, it triggers SQA coming together and making decisions on how we're going to manage the water.
I was just concerned maybe that there was other contracts that would take a priority in the event that it dropped, and that's good.
I look at all the pictures of Folsom that are being sent to us. In '91, the then principal at Wilsey Wood, Mike Deneau, was a pilot and had a plane out at the Nut Tree. And he flew me over Berryessa, and that's when the town of Folsom had been exposed, you know, and all the orchards that they'd cut down were cut down. So, I mean, it can happen before you know it. I'm glad you guys are at least looking somewhat into the future.
We're watching the sky very carefully.
Doing the rain dance every morning? Coffee and calisthenics, 6:30 in the morning?
That's usually my arthritis talking.
Okay. Belena.
So we have several people from years ago that set up our water rights. I want to say thank you to all of them. But I don't recall ever in the history of Vacaville that we've actually had a situation where we didn't have water that we needed, correct?
Vacaville's been very blessed. Now, in '91, the mayor's mentioned it a couple times. '91, the council did adopt an ordinance, an emergency ordinance, and that ordinance is still in play. And if things do get worse, there are tools that the council has to manage this situation.
I just want you to know I've been doing my part. All of my plants in my backyard are dead because I haven't watered them.
If that's report, thank you.